1. I worked as a lifeguard for many years in high school, and in my first summer after college. Usually I loved it, but we'd get the occasional EP with their bratty kids at our pool. My favorite story happened this past summer. That day was supposed to be a great day. It was stormy out. I was working a double with my favorite manager and other co-worker. Our supervisor brought us Sonic during one of the thunder breaks. Not just drinks, I'm talking cheese fries, tots, burgers, the whole shebang. And it was overall a great day at work. Until... during one of the thunder breaks, we were all sitting in the guard office finishing up our food. A little kid, probably about 4 or 5, came up to us and demanded that we share some of our tater tots with him. It's a rule that lifeguards can't give patrons any of our personal food for safety reasons, allergies, etc. So we offered him some snacks from our snack bin that we use when a kid gets tired or dehydrated. He threw a fit because apparently goldfish were beneath him. And he screamed about how unfair it was. We told him to leave the guard area, and said the snack offer was still on the table if he wanted it. The kid immediately ran out of our office to his mom. He's crying, snot-bubbling, and screaming about how we get snacks and he doesn't. You entitled mom storming up to our office and threatening to report us to our supervisor for eating on the job. What? And for rubbing it in the patrons' faces. That we have food and they don't. She then started berating us about how we weren't allowing anybody in the pool due to it being stormy, claimed we were lying about there being thunder, etc. At this point, we were all annoyed. We explained that we can't give personal food to pool patrons as it's against the rules, and that everyone is out of the water due to it being unsafe. We even pulled up a radar and showed her that there were lightning strikes within 5 miles of the pool. Of course she wasn't having it, and she just stormed off. At this point, most of the pool patrons were leaving because the storm was only getting worse. So we figured she'd give us a dirty look and then leave. Oh boy, was I wrong. Instead of being a reasonable and rational person, she proceeds to tell her kid to go swim, and that if any of us try to get him out, that he should start screaming as loud as he can. Of course, we couldn't let the kid swim, so we had my manager call the supervisor and the other co-worker, and I went to go convince the kid to get out of the pool. It was raining, there was thunder, and the kid was just splashing away. We told him that he needed to get out because it wasn't safe, but the second I stepped into the water, the kid let out the most ear-piercing scream I'd ever heard. Then entitled mom ran over, started screaming, "She's hitting my son, someone help!" and tried to physically pull me out of the pool. Unfortunately for her, my supervisor had just arrived and he was already on the phone with the police. She was screaming, the kid was screaming, and I was fuming. I wanted to smack the shit out of that woman and her child so bad, but I restrained myself. My supervisor came over and told both of them that they needed to leave, or they would be escorted out by the police. Surprise, surprise, she wasn't having it. Police got there about 5 minutes later, escorted her out, and she was banned from ever coming to the pool again. About 2 weeks later, she ended up trying to come to the pool again with her son. She came in, ignored the sign-in sheet, and just told her kid to get in the pool. We called the cops, and she was fined for trespassing. She left screaming, with her screaming brat following behind her. She tried to start stuff in this one awful app called Nextdoor, saying that we were discriminating against her, blah blah blah, but that was the end of that. That incident made me stop lifeguarding altogether. $8.25 an hour is not enough to be dealing with crap like that. 2. Forewarning, this may be not safe for work or graphic for some. Please don't bite my head off as I'm also being vague due to HIPAA. I'm a practicing nurse in both an active clinic as well as an ER nurse overnights. My life is hard enough. On with the show. It is a regular Thursday night at the ER. After my first job and the issues I had at the clinic, I am already done with bullshit. And I do like to look at myself as I'm a good southern woman, accent and all, so I'm plugging myself in for another 10-hour show. We have the usual revolving door of patients coming in for a busted eardrum, medication referral, and a few ambulances coming in with patients from a nearby old folks' home. Most nights is for a urinary tract infection. Fun fact, most elderly will get aggressive or become disoriented when they have one. Typically, we keep them overnight for observation or let them hang out in the ER for a 3-hour nap. They're just so cute. Most of the time, we can have you in and out within an hour and 30 minutes on a good night. I don't know what was in the air in this particular night, but things were smooth. We all know we ER staff is always superstitious and just waiting for that one crackhead to roll on up for the good-feeling drugs. It was just after midnight when a mother and her young daughter walk up on the registrar. There are like 20 cameras at the nurse's station, so we can see everything. Maybe a little too much at times. This mama comes in and wants us to take a look at her daughter. The registrar, who was just barely out of high school, inputs her into our medical system and has the patient fill out the basic demographic information needed for a patient to be seen. Our lovely registrar is seen on the monitor to get up and come to the back to ask a question. The registrar, Nicole, says,
"Hey, do we have a victim's advocate on staff tonight?"
"No, why?"
"Well, this mom is out there claiming her daughter has been sexually assaulted and would like to be evaluated."
"Well, we can do the evaluation, but there is no advocate unless I call the authorities." Nicole says a quick thanks and returns to the front. Registers a little girl approximately 11 years old into the system to be seen. My MA goes to the triage room, calls him in, and starts to do the preliminary evaluation and gets him settled in bed 4. Quick note here, RER is set up like a staple. We can see you in any matter, and we can get to you in seconds if you begin to code. Once settled in, my MA comes up to me and gives me that one look. You know the look? That mama is crazy. That she was. It's not so much that she is crazy, but that this mama makes hell for anyone. I get up and go in the room. I greet the mother and teen. I ask them what they're here for.
"My daughter has been sexually assaulted. I want her to get all the testing."
"Mom,"
the girl pleads,
"we weren't doing anything. Can we just go home?"
"Hush up,"
she hisses at her daughter.
"Will this take very long? I need to get some rest before work tomorrow."
"Well, ma'am, I can do any testing or treatment needed. The testing times may vary. However, I will have to speak privately to your daughter and obtain her permission to run some of those tests, as they are very invasive."
"What do you mean? I am her mother. She will give you permission. She will be getting the testing done."
I look at the young girl and begin to explain the basic treatment explanation. So, for a sexual assault, we would need to run a pregnancy test, a urinalysis, a drug test, to swab for private areas to rule out any STDs or swimmers. Then we would give X to ward off pregnancy and STD transmission. After all is said and done, if requested for, I would contact the police and have them come in and assist in filing a report. I look at the mom who's absorbed in her cell phone. "Would you want or be able to pee from me?" As I reach for one of our urine collection cups and attempt to hand it to her, the young girl is embarrassed, probably wanting to hide away under a rock.
"Why? Let's just get it over with."
"Sweetie, is this not something you want to do? Would you like to talk about it?"
"Yes, she will do it. Now get on with it."
She spits out at me and her daughter. "Why don't you tell me what happened?" I ask the daughter.
"I caught my daughter at her friend's party."
She waves her pointer finger at me.
"There were boys, there were drink, there were drugs. You're turning into a real little hussy. Well, I don't let that boy touch my daughter and get away with it."
"Tyler did no such thing. It was just coke, not alcohol. Mom, can we please just go home?"
The girl was pleading in near tears.
"You will get the damn test done."
This mama is yelling at her baby, talking over one another.
"Mom, can we please just go home? You can't get pregnant or drugged from just talking, please."
The girl is pleading. I am just standing there, MA next to me by the closed curtain, stunned into a frozen state.
"You will get that goddamn test done now,"
Mama is yelling. Thank goodness we don't have any other PTs nearby.
Didn't do anything. Why do I have to get the test?
The girl is pleading and begins to cry.
You will get the damn test done even if it means I'll hold you down while they do it.
She yells and the girl begins to cry. No, ma'am, I cannot and will not force your daughter to do anything against her will.
What are you saying? You won't have to. I'll make her. What? Are you not going to treat my daughter?
That's not what I said, ma'am. I said your daughter has a right to choose on whether she wants to participate in treatment. I will not force this baby, no matter how old she is, to do any tests she does not want. I understand this may be upsetting for you. We were all young and stupid once, but...
I said test my daughter now.
No shit, this mama begins to turn beet red in the face, huffing and puffing. I'm sorry, ma'am, but at this point, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave or call security and have you removed. I will not be able to assist or help you this evening. With that, I turn, walk out, close the curtain behind, and walk back to the nurse's station. I place a quick call to our security team. Mom comes out from around the curtain, standing in the hallway, screaming at some poor soul on the phone, blabbing about how she is going to sue the whole hospital, and that we are refusing to care for her poor baby that was just essayed by some hoodlum. The security guard comes about the station. I point in the direction they head over and escort her out. I haven't seen or heard from them since. As a precaution, I did call CPS and have a welfare check done on the young girl. I hope that girl is okay. 3. I work at an entertainment venue, so you can imagine how many entitled assets are attracted here. So it's a bright day on a Saturday in May in Texas. The sun is out and it's heating up hard. The day goes as usual. I open my till to make sales. As the minutes go by, I see an angry lady and a kid who looks like she was done crying. We call them Ms. Saggy, or Karen if you prefer, and little girl. I step and do the usual greeting. Here we greet our guests as my lord, lady for adults, and young squire or princess for the kids. Good afternoon, my lady. How may I help you?
Don't lady me. You call me ma'am.
I'm sorry, ma'am. That's what I've been trained to call guests that enter here, I say with an awkward smile.
Whatever.
She proceeds to shove a voucher for a free announcement during the show, demanding, not asking, but demanding I do this for her. Me, not knowing how to do that, tell her where to go. No, not like that. Mrs. Saggy scoffs at me and proceeds to whine about it.
But I'm already here. You gotta do this for me, and it's your job.
Yes, she extended job.
It's for my daughter.
I'm sorry, my lady, but you're gonna have to go down there to where I told you, because I have not been trained in that yet. She bent down and spoke to her daughter.
Honey, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to wait in line till they see us, because the mean old man won't do this for your special day. It's okay, Mommy. He's just doing his job. He doesn't know what to do.
Me again, demonstrating where to go. Lead her there and proceed to walk back to my till. I hear as I walk back she's calling me lazy, useless, pathetic, even a lazy Mexican, which I ignore because whatever, lady. Hours go by, and my co-workers and I throughout the show are getting complaints that is burning in the show. Which it was. It was a good 100 Fahrenheit outside and 88 Fahrenheit in the show where the gift shops are. We're all burning up and sweating, waiting till they fix the issue with the ACs. The venue's bar then called up the gift shop crew to get a free slushie for the heat. So we all step in a separate line for the guests and our free small slush, who then enters the line, Ms. Saggy. We're both next in our respective lines. I was the last one in the employee line. As she's about to pay, she notices I get my slush while she has to pay. Instead of paying, she slides to the employee line, and then it begins.
I would like one slushie, please, and thank you. Oh, make it a large, of course.
I'm sorry, ma'am. These slushies are for the employees, as they deserve a treat for working in this heat.
Well, I have a baby that's currently burning up from your shitty AC. My baby is thirsty and dying.
Ma'am, you and your daughter get free drinks and bottomless refunds on drinks and admission.
But it's not a slushie. I want a slushie right now or I'll be reporting you to your manager.
Bartender then shrugs and goes back to making drinks. She then notices me speaking to another bartender and storms up next to me. I hear the typical Karen,
ahem.
I roll my eyes and sigh. Yes, my lady, how may I help you? Points and demands.
Give me your slushie now. My daughter deserves a free slushie. And you can get one another time. Now hand it over.
I'm sipping on my slushie while staring at her and raising an eyebrow. Ma'am, I've already been drinking it, and I don't feel comfortable sharing something that already has my saliva. You can purchase one right there. These slushies are pretty cheap.
I don't fucking care. You give me that slushie right now, you...
Then she used some racist language for Mexicans, followed by,
you ugly piece of shit.
Now, normally I don't give a flying fuck what you call me, and have a huge amount of patience for BS. But today I was sleep-deprived, hungry, hot, thirsty, and tired. Okay, listen, you saggy tits bitch. How about before you call me ugly, you tighten up those saggy udders you call boobs so they're not hanging and look like a pair of ball sacks. I was originally gonna offer you to get one with my discount, but after that shit, you ain't getting anything. Now fuck you, have a good day. As I'm walking away, I feel my hair getting yanked on really hard. Now I have pretty long hair. This bitch is yanking on my hair, screaming at me, demanding the slush and an apology. So I turned around and threw the slush all over her. As she's standing there cold, wet, shocked, she then gives me the death glare, and proceeds to pounce at me, scratching my arm, face, eyes. I shove her right into security, who detain her, while she's yelling assault and saying she's gonna sue for throwing it on her. I step away, telling security about the little girl left alone in the show. As security escorts her out, I see a little girl walking by, giving me a sad yet apologetic stare. I feel so bad for the little girl. She seemed like a sweet girl.
I'm sorry for what my mommy did. I hope you didn't get hurt. She's always been like this. That's why I wish Daddy was the one that brought me here.
I step away for a little, and proceed to give her a slush to cheer her up, which makes her smile immensely, and she walks away with security. I don't know what happened after she was taken out, since my GM gave me the rest of the day off and I left for home. If you want to know how much the slush was, it was $4. For context, I have a baby face, and that this establishment had security guards in and outside the building. This is important later on, though, and the tournament in question is a surfing tournament. Alright, so it was last year in June. This was a statewide tournament in which you have to be 16 or older to participate. After having signed up for Teen League, and having a birthday earlier that year, I thought now would be as good a time as any to sign up, since I was avidly practicing surfing. It was an hour before the brackets started, because I showed up early, and they really pulled out all the stops for entertainment, with stands and shows premiering before the tournament began. And enter entitled Mother. She shows up with her son, who seems to be almost the same age as me, and trying to get through the crowd of people surrounding the building. And after a bit of time, she eventually makes it through into the building, and marks her son present for the tournament. Now, I was trying to eat my chili dog. She starts a conversation with me.
You know, eating before the tournament isn't a wise choice.
I skipped breakfast for this, so I think I deserve this frankfurter.
Well, don't get surprised when my son eventually beats you.
That's a competitive spirit I like to see in people. And then the conversation was cut short when the announcer over the loudspeaker officially announced that the tournament was starting. So all of the members got into the main room for roll call. And approximately 56 out of 75 people were here, and then we got sorted into our brackets. I was in a bracket with 6 other people, one of them being the entitled mother's kid, so our order was sorted as well. I was going before entitled mother's kid. I could see in the crowd that she was visibly frustrated with this, and tried asking the judges for a different order, because her surfing prodigy deserved to go before all of these people, being her reasoning.
What does it matter? They're gonna lose anyway.
The judges dismissed the entitled mother and told her that the order doesn't mean much. A few minutes later, and a few nasty looks from her, our bracket had finished. And you know who got in the bottom 3? Entitled mother's kid. She looked furious and started walking over to me and the rest of the contestants and started yelling at us and trying to accuse all of us except her son for cheating. Every one of the contestants, including me, were shocked by her reasoning and ramblings until one of the judges walked over and said, "Ma'am, If you're unable to control yourself, you'll be escorted out of the building by police officers." Then she slowly looked over at the judge and slapped him across the face. Then started yelling again, and because of the scene she was making, people started looking over. And then, only a few seconds later, she started calling security to get us kicked out, and oh boy, that might have been one of the worst mistakes she could have made. They arrived shortly after, and this is the conversation that follows. "What seems to be the problem here?"
All of these insolent people were cheating in the tournament.
Side note, how would you even know that? "And why are one of the judges here?" She couldn't find the words to answer with, so I did. "Hey, police officer, what actually happened here is that the EM accused us of cheating and how we should be banned, and the judge came over here to tell her if she can't control her actions, she'll be escorted out by a police officer." Then she slapped the judge. Then, after talking with some of the judges, they ruled that EM's son will not be disqualified. However, that the EM will be escorted out of the building by police officers and be given a fine. And just before she was about to be carried away, she starts yelling at me and shaming me, because I didn't look old enough. I have a baby face, but my height cannot compare, and the police officers just weren't having it. Then she has the guts to actually try to slap the police officer. Emphasis on tried, because what happened was the police officer grabbed her arm and carried her out of the establishment. And then, instead of being kicked out, she was banned from all of the franchises under the same name, and for life no less. Well, I still had a good rest of the tournament, and I even came in fourth, but the guy in front had 2 more points than me. A weird experience, yet one that ended well, I suppose. 5. I work at a car dealership as a receptionist. One of my duties being greeting customers when they enter. I'm a professional artist on the side, and I've been busy with some commissions lately. So since it's not busy at the dealer, I started working on my iPad mini. It's old and I'm working on upgrading, but I currently can't afford to, so I live with it despite the battery life being really short, and I have to basically keep it plugged in at all times. During my lunch, I was in the waiting area doing more work when a kid, a little girl no older than 4, came up and watched me work. This happens a lot when I draw in public, and usually the kids just ask a lot of questions. But this nice girl was very quiet and just had a look of amazement, so I just let her be. Her mother, the EM in the story, was nearby at a salesman's desk working on purchasing a new car, which is a long and no doubt boring process. The salesman working with her walked away, which at my dealership they do very often to retrieve paperwork, talk to the sales and finance managers, etc. She looks over at me and her kid and asks, "What are you looking at?" Her kid points at my screen and says, "She's painting puppies." I was working on Twitch emotes of a streamer's dog. I sort of show my screen to EM, and she then asks her kid if she wants to draw, which the girl excitedly says yes. I expected EM to pull out paper and pencils, or at least ask if I can get some for her too. But she just looked at me expectantly. When I realized she was waiting for me to hand her my iPad, I said, "Oh, she can't use mine, but I can get her a notepad and pens." But apparently that wasn't good enough. She sighs and says, "Just let her draw a little bit. I'm almost done here anyway." Which I knew for a fact wasn't true. They were waiting on bank approval for a loan, which can take anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes. And even then, they'll be here longer for finance paperwork, detailing, etc. I start to explain that this is part of my work, and she scoffs, saying I'm just doodling puppies, and it was selfish that I wouldn't let Nice Girl doodle on my device too. Poor Nice Girl was just looking at her hands, looking quite embarrassed. I then pretended my lunch was over and got up to spend the rest of my lunch at my desk. I couldn't see her behind a huge truck on display, but I can hear her grumble to Nice Girl about who knows what. Whatever. Pretend like I didn't hear so I don't mess up this sale for my coworker. Sometime later, Nature called and I got up to use the restroom. I left my iPad on my seat so it'll stay plugged in, and put a notepad over it to cover it up somehow. My desk is a wide crescent shape with no drawers to keep my things safe, so this was the best I could do to somewhat hide it. I was in the restroom no longer than 3 minutes, but when I got back, only my charger remained. My iPad and Apple Pencil were gone. I looked over to the lady who had her large purse suspiciously in her lap now, instead of on the floor beside her chair like it was before. I was panicked because a lot of my work is on that iPad that I needed. I went to my sales manager and told him the situation. He told me he would take care of it, but to be patient for now. I went back to my desk full of anxiety and my stomach doing backflips. Sales manager went to the desk where EM was to work out the deal. They're far enough that I can hear their voices but not pinpoint what they're saying. But I did hear her eventually yell, "How dare you! I would never steal! Do you want to lose this sale?" I immediately got up and went over behind the lady so sales manager could see me, but she couldn't. He tells her he understands, but my iPad went missing and he wants to make sure no one currently in the building has it. That's when I remembered the Find My feature on all Apple products. My iPad was connected to the dealer's Wi-Fi, so I pulled out my iPhone and pressed play sound for my iPad. Her purse started dinging. She tried to play it off as it's her ringtone, and sales manager stared at her as if daring her to answer it. Thing is, with the play sound feature, if I keep pressing it, it will keep pinging. I made my presence known and told her to give my iPad back. That's when she stopped playing dumb and just said, "Just let nice girl have it. Her birthday is coming up, and I can't afford a present for her since I'm getting this car." Sales manager said he was happy to cancel the deal so she can instead buy a birthday present for her child, and to return my iPad or he'll call the police. She practically threw my iPad at me, where it hit me in the gut, and took nice girl from the waiting area to leave. Poor thing looked at me with the most apologetic look in her face before leaving with her mother. Sales manager might have helped me, but he's not exactly the nicest person. From now on, I'm not allowed to bring my iPad to the dealer. I have to either leave it in my car or leave it at home. Whatever. EM took my Apple Pencil with her since she left in a hurry, so I'm gonna stop by the Apple store after work to get a new one. But until then, I'm stuck with my pens and notepad. A little while later, when I got off work, I looked up the cost and Apple Pens are like $120, the first generation. The one EM took, I bought secondhand for $70. What the heck? I wasn't gonna call the police, but now that I know how much it'll cost to replace it, I'm gonna talk with sales manager tomorrow to get her info. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to The Impractical Proudness of Parents. Ipop. Episode 86. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then I'd appreciate it if you shared it with everyone you know, through whatever means is most convenient for you to do so. Maybe a bullhorn, or "Watch Hellfreezer, he's kind of awesome." Possibly a pigeon would be good. Or you could just share it around on Twitter and various other social media. That might be a bit more convenient. Okay, let's see. We are on Tuesday for this one. Yes, day of launch, of course. I'm aware the future exists. And let's see. Hellfreezer's question of the day. And let's keep it thematic with the final story there, shall we? As the final story was about a car dealership, those of you who are currently looking, or will be at some point in the future, to get a new vehicle, how many of you see yourself switching to electric within the next 10 years? I think we're all going to be there eventually. It'll be kind of inevitable. What I'll be interested to see, are people going to actually start retrofitting cars? And that could be quite expensive, though, couldn't it? But there's lots of different companies out there, many options. So let me know what you think. Are you going to go electric at some point in the next decade? Personally, I don't drive, so unless it's a self-driving car, I won't be getting one. But I do look forward to getting solar panels, so it'd be quite cool on the roof. Well, the solar tiles, rather. They look nicer. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.